A lab rat seeks food but is caught by an invisible force. Meanwhile, Sebastian's computer simulation for a chemical formula fails. He briefly spies on his neighbor, then reworks the formula, succeeding in stabilizing the element. Sebastian informs Linda of the solution but discovers another man in her bed. Linda dismisses his concern, so Sebastian reveals the chemical breakthrough. Linda, impressed, wakes up Matt to head to the lab, suggesting separate cars. However, Matt insists on revealing their relationship to Sebastian at the right moment. In the morning, Sebastian enters a secure lab using fingerprint and password access. The invisible animals are visible only through thermal imaging. Matt interacts with an orangutan and greets a gorilla named Isabel, who startles the animals. Using thermal goggles, he calms Isabel. Attempting to sedate her, Matt gets bitten, and she escapes. Matt informs Sebastian of her increased aggression due to prolonged invisibility affecting her brain. Sebastian and Matt compete to tranquilize her, eventually cornering and sedating Isabel, with Sebastian winning the bet. Sarah confronts Sebastian, objecting to inject Isabel with an untested serum, deeming it unethical. Sebastian, prioritizing efficiency, overrules her objections. Linda intervenes, reminding Sebastian that Sarah is the best vet in country. Later, Linda prepares the serum, updating Sebastian on its readiness. Linda loads the serum into an injection gun, and Sebastian, taking charge, insists on administering it himself. Sebastian administers the serum, visibly coursing through Isabel's veins. Initially successful, her body becomes visible, and they rejoice. However, Isabel suddenly deteriorates, experiencing cardiac arrest. Linda uses a defibrillator to revive her, and after several attempts, Isabel stabilizes. As her body becomes fully visible, tech confirms stable quantum signatures, prompting everyone to celebrate their success. Linda proposes celebrating their success, leading to a restaurant celebration. In a heart-to-heart, Sebastian expresses a desire to reunite with Linda, but she declines. Returning to the lab, he checks on Isabel, encountering an invisible dog, and wondering how it felt like being invisible. Sebastian briefs a Pentagon committee on their progress, falsely claiming they haven't resolved invisibility reversion, surprising Linda and Matt. Dr. Kramer warns of consequences and potential replacement if results aren't achieved soon. Linda and Matt express frustration, but Sebastian defends himself saying he lied to avoid Pentagon takeover. He proposes unauthorized human trials, emphasizing it as a chance to win the Nobel Prize. Matt voices concern about potential consequences. They share the plan with the team, met with disapproval. Despite objections, he insists on proceeding. On the procedure day, Matt suggests Sebastian reconsider, but Sebastian mocks the idea. As they enter, Sebastian gets on the bed, connected to an IV drip and restrained. They irradiate the serum, and Sebastian insists on self-injecting, absolving others of blame if anything goes wrong. Sebastian injects, causing initial panic when no immediate changes occur. Suddenly, Sebastian convulses, and the painful process of invisibility begins in patches. Frank warns of a potential seizure as vital signs fluctuate. Despite preparing the defibrillator, Matt advises holding off as Sebastian stabilizes during the transformation. As Sebastian becomes fully invisible, Matt assures he's okay but in shock from the trauma. 17 hours later, Sebastian awakens screaming in pain, unable to close his transparent eyelids. Linda reassures him, and they move around the lab. Sebastian, enjoying the invisibility, pranks everyone until Frank uses goggles to see him. Matt and Linda escort Sebastian to his room, activating the observation monitor. Meanwhile, Sarah prepares for the first shift. After turning off the lights, Sarah falls asleep. Sebastian enters the observation room, touching her as she sleeps. Sarah awakens, and checks the monitors as Sebastian swiftly returns to bed. Later in the restroom, Janice, feeling observed, uses thermal goggles. She shares her discomfort with Carter after lunch. The team discusses Sebastian's potential mischief now that he's invisible, sharing a common concern. Unbeknownst to them, a seemingly empty chair in the kitchen turns around as Sebastian had been eavesdropping. That night, during Linda's lab shift, Sebastian playfully disrupts her work, moving objects around. He massages her and offers the experience of intimacy with an invisible man on his last night in that state. Linda rejects his advances. The next day, Matt and Carter administer the serum to reverse the invisibility, and upon injection, organs start appearing. However, Sebastian chokes, and his vitals become erratic. Breaking restraints, Sebastian resists, throwing Carter and Matt off. Disoriented, his flesh fluctuates. Sarah and Linda manage to intubate before he turns invisible again, but Sebastian enters shock as he disappears once more. Sebastian awakens with Linda at his side, learning he nearly died. He insists the committee shouldn't be informed yet. Due to his prolonged invisibility, they create a synthetic mask. Linda cuts the mask while it's on him, and Matt brings a mirror. Working remotely, Linda and Matt struggle to decipher the reversion serum formula. 10 days later, Sebastian's health deteriorates from relentless testing. He clashes with Matt, but Linda tries to comfort him. Unsatisfied, Sebastian insists their efforts are insufficient. That night, overwhelmed, he decides to leave, informing Carter despite the prohibition. Asserting his authority, Sebastian exits, promising to return in a couple of hours. Carter notifies Linda. Evading the concerned police guard, Sebastian drives out. Sebastian enters his apartment, gathering items to take back to the lab. While there, he notices his neighbor undressing. Later, as she showers, her doorbell rings, prompting her to check outside. Sebastian seizes the opportunity to enter. In her room, he moves her mirror, causing her distress. He then grabs her and forces her. Linda, searching for Sebastian, discovers his unlocked apartment and finds his mask. Meanwhile, Sebastian leaves his upset neighbor and notices Linda's presence. Back at the lab, the team prepares to locate him. Suddenly, Sebastian returns, explaining he went to retrieve belongings. Linda confronts him about her findings. Sebastian asserts his leadership, prompting Linda to threaten reporting to the committee if he leaves again. The next day, during tests with Carter, Sebastian evades revealing his nighttime activities, manipulating the conversation for a positive reaction. That night, Linda dreams of Sebastian undressing her, only to be awakened by a phone call. Matt informs her he believes he's found a solution. In the lab, they present the solution to Sebastian and the team. During the simulation, it reaches only 95% before breaking down, triggering Sebastian's frustration and departure. Linda confronts him about mistreating Matt, asserting that he's trying to help him. Later, he manipulates a security camera in the lab to create a false presence while secretly spying on Linda at her apartment. Angered by Matt's arrival, Sebastian breaks a window during their intimate moment. Unaware of Sebastian's actions, Matt and Linda call the lab, but Frank dismisses their concerns seeing him in the rigged camera. Sebastian, furious with Linda, vents his anger on the barking dog by finishing it brutally. The next day, Sarah discovers the dog's lifeless body and questions Sebastian, receiving no satisfactory answers. Reviewing the security footage, they find Sebastian in bed all night. Later, Linda, feeling Sebastian's presence in her room, becomes frightened and flees to the lab. Despite Matt assuring her that Sebastian is asleep, she checks his room and discovers he's gone, realizing he tampered with the camera. Linda gathers everyone in the lab, deciding to approach the committee about Sebastian's actions. Sebastian eavesdrops on their conversation. As Linda and Matt leave, planning to brief the team the next day, Sebastian lurks outside. Later, at Kramer's house, Sebastian spies on him. Kramer, intending to call the necessary people, instructs Linda and Matt to pack up. As Kramer goes to make the call, Sebastian intervenes, pushing him into the pool and drowning him. Sebastian emerges from the pool before Kramer's wife checks on him. The next day, Sebastian startles Linda upon her return to the lab, mentioning a hectic day ahead. Matt informs Linda that Kramer hasn't responded. Linda contacts Kramer's wife, who reveals he drowned. Unable to reach a general, they discover their phone lacks an outside line. Attempting to inform security, they find the elevator rejecting their passwords. Upon sharing this, Frank investigates the security system and realizes Sebastian revoked their access. Equipped with goggles, they depart, except for Janice, who returns for hers. Janice is ambushed by Sebastian as she exits. The group searches his room. Linda urges Sebastian to reveal his location, but he relishes his power, confessing Kramer's death. They realize Janice is missing and discover her lifeless body in a locker. Carter suggests Sebastian snapped, but Matt believes he orchestrated everything to avoid being turned in. Activating motion detectors, they spot Sebastian on the monitor. Matt and Carter pursue him while the rest stay vigilant. Splitting up, Linda loses Sebastian on monitors. Matt nearly shoots Carter. Mistaking a vent for Sebastian, Matt hits a pipe, revealing him in the vapor. Sebastian grabs and seriously injures Carter. Linda alerts Matt to Sebastian's presence. He shoots the pipes, but Sebastian escapes, locking Matt in the tunnel. On the same side of the door, heat hinders Google's visibility. Linda aids Matt. In a confrontation, Matt hits Sebastian, but Linda intervenes, saving him from Sebastian's counterattack. Sarah and Frank locate Carter. She leaves Frank to tend to Carter's wound. Sarah gathers blood packets when she hears Sebastian. She pours blood on the ground to detect him, but Sebastian catches her. Despite pouring blood on him, Sebastian overpowers her, shooting her with a tranquilizer and breaking her neck. Linda and Matt discover Frank just as Carter passes away. Returning to the lab, Linda finds Sarah. Sebastian finishes Frank when his back is turned, wounds Matt, and locks them in the freezer. Linda uses duct tape to close Matt's wound. As Matt loses consciousness, Linda tries to break out of the freezer. She conceives a plan and creates a makeshift magnet with the defibrillator, unlocking the door. Sebastian, meanwhile, prepares to escape and concocts a bomb to blow up the lab. Linda successfully gets Matt outside, lights a fire to warm him, and takes a gas tank before leaving. Simultaneously, Sebastian sets a timer on a lab device for 5 minutes, creating a bomb with his concoction. In the elevator, Linda catches up to Sebastian, setting him on fire. As he struggles to remove his burning clothes, she loses gas, allowing him to escape. Activating the sprinkler system, Linda attempts to subdue him, but Sebastian ambushes her. Matt intervenes, knocking Sebastian out. Despite surviving, Sebastian attacks again, accidentally electrocuting himself. Discovering the bomb, they escape into the elevator shaft. The bomb explodes, propelling the elevator up, narrowly avoiding them. However, it descends, stopping just above them. Continuing to climb, Sebastian grabs Linda, leading to a struggle that sends them back onto the descending elevator. Linda seizes the cable, releasing the elevator, causing Sebastian to fall into the fire. Linda climbs back up to Matt, and the two exit the lab alive.